After receiving 53M, my son exposed his true colors, then a life-changing plea for help emerged. Tom had always believed that hard work defined a man. At 62, after 40 long years at the factory, he felt like a walking testament to grit and determination. But all that faded like mist when he won the lottery, a staggering 53 million jackpot that had his heart racing and his head spinning. It was meant to celebrate his son Jake's graduation, a moment they'd always dreamed about. Instead, it turned their world upside down. With dollar signs flashing in his eyes, Jake transformed. The sweet, supportive son who strummed his guitar on the porch now craved the spotlight. His dreams of music elevated into an insatiable thirst for fame and luxury. The first extravagant request came after a simple family dinner. "Dad, I need a 10,000 music promotion package." As Tom's heart sank, the old values he held dear became the very things that divided them. Family dinners, which once crackled with warmth and laughter, shifted into nightmarish battlegrounds. Tom felt the tightness in his chest grow with each argument, tears stinging his eyes as he watched his son drift further. "You don't understand, Dad," Jake would shout. "This is my chance." Just like that, the factory worker's earnest belief in hard-earned success seemed antiquated. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Desperate to restore the bond, Tom organized a charity event to support struggling families in their small community. He hoped it would reflect the values he was losing: compassion, community spirit, connection. But as he poured his heart into the planning, the rift between him and Jake widened. They were two ships passing in the night. Each heartwarming story he encountered deepened his despair, while Jake remained consumed by his glamorous ambitions. Then, just when Tom thought the fracture might be irreparable, fate intervened. A neighbor's home caught fire, flames licking the air like a wild beast. The shriek of sirens cut through the night, and amid the chaos, Jake dashed forward. "Get out of the way," he roared, pushing friends and pets to safety without a second thought. In that moment, Tom's breath hitched as he saw flickers of the boy he'd raised under the encouraging sun of hard work and kindness. Could this selfless act be a turning point? Standing amid ashes and embers, the remnants of home smoldering, Tom felt a stirring in his heart. A glimmer of hope ignited. As Jake faced the internal battle between lavish dreams and the core of who he truly was, Tom stood at a crossroads. Would this moment of heroism bring them closer, or push them further apart? The emotional stakes couldn't be higher, and the choices they made next could redefine everything. Would the golden ticket be their salvation or a curse? The answer hung in the balance, leaving readers yearning for what lay ahead in the next chapter. As days passed after the fire, Tom wondered if Jake's heroism would spark a change in him. But as the smoke cleared and life settled back into a somewhat normal rhythm, he felt that old tension creep back in. Jake's phone rang with glimmers of new projects, promotional offers, and invitations to parties decked in glittering lights. Each opportunity further pulled him away from the grounded values Tom held dear. One evening, as they sat across from each other at the dinner table, Tom mustered the courage to speak. "Jake, I know things have been rough, but I hope you can see what truly matters in life." He paused, struggling to maintain eye contact. "Helping others, being there for family. That's what counts." Jake, his face lit by the glow of his phone screen, barely glanced up. "Dad, I can't think about charity right now. I have to focus on my career. This is my moment." Frustration bubbled inside Tom, threatening to spill over. How could his son not see the darkness looming beneath his ambitions? Is it really about the music, or is it about the fame? Tom shot back, his voice rising. "What happens when the music stops? What are you left with?" Jake slammed his hand on the table, the sound echoing in the small room. "You just don't get it. You're living in the past." The fight reverberated through Tom's heart, crushing the hope he had built after seeing Jake rush into the flames. Days turned into weeks, filled with uncomfortable silences and tense dinners. Tom immersed himself in planning the charity event, pouring everything into the details: the venue, The local musicians supporting the cause, but Jake's absence at the planning meetings cut deeper than any harsh words. It felt like he was losing him all over again. Then came the phone call that changed everything. Tom was at the community center, finalizing details when Jake burst in, disheveled and breathing heavily. "Dad, I need your help. They want to drop my new single because I can't pay this fee." Panic danced in Jake's eyes, the sheen of excitement replaced by desperation. Tom's heart raced not out of anger, but with a sense of helplessness that clawed at him. "You should have thought of that before diving headfirst into all this extravagance, Jake. I've tried to tell you. I know. But this is my dream. I can't lose it." Jake's voice trembled, a boy caught in a whirlwind of adult choices he wasn't ready to face. For a moment Tom felt the walls of his resolve begin to crack. The words from that dinner, the calm advice about family and community, faded as a father instinct took over. He searched Jake's face, and for the briefest heartbeat, he saw the child he once knew, desperate to prove himself in a world that felt merciless. "Okay," Tom finally said, his heart heavy but resolute. "Let us figure this out together. But first you need to help me with the charity event. No more running away." In that moment, a flicker of hope ignited between them. Could this be the start of rebuilding their connection, a bridge back to each other? As they began to brainstorm ideas, Tom couldn't shake the fear that this fragile moment would crumble under the weight of ambition and greed. Would they find their way back? Or were they caught in a cycle of ambition that would forever keep them apart? Only time would tell. The air in the community center buzzed with the kind of nervous energy that came before an event. Tom and Jake were sorting through the details for the charity fundraiser. Tables covered with fabric, flyers held down by centerpieces, and local bands rehearsing in the background created a lively atmosphere. But there was an undeniable tension between the two of them. "Okay, so what about a silent auction?" Jake suggested, his pencil scratching furiously on a notepad. "We could get some cool items donated. People love bidding on unique stuff." Tom nodded slowly, appreciating Jake's enthusiasm, but worry tugged at his thoughts. "We need to focus on the heart of this, son. It's not about the flash. It's about helping people." Jake rolled his eyes slightly but tried to suppress it. "I get that, Dad. But if we make it exciting, we'll bring in more donations. You know how these events go." Tom could see Jake's ambition flaring, but instead of pushing back, he held on to the glimmer of teamwork, the concept of working together. After all these weeks of silence, here it was, the small yet vital step toward reconnecting. Maybe they both needed to let each other in a little more. "Okay, let us do a silent auction," Tom conceded, smiling softly. "But let us ensure those items tell stories. They should be about real people. That's what's going to touch hearts out there." Jake paused, considering his father's words. "All right. We can do both, right?" "Excitement and meaning," he replied, his tone shifting slightly. "Let us think of the people we could reach." The night wore on as they mapped out ideas together, throwing around suggestions like they hadn't in years. They made a list of local businesses to reach out to for donations, even laughed about a potential celebrity guest appearance that seemed outrageous but fun. Tom watched as Jake's passion flickered into life, feeling a flood of warmth seep into the cracks of his heart. Days turned into a blur of preparation. The night of the event glimmered on the horizon, and Tom and Jake were in the thick of it. On the morning of the fundraiser, Tom woke to find Jake already dressed, scrolling through his phone with eyes wide. "Look at this, Dad," he exclaimed, enthusiasm bubbling over. "A music producer is at the same gala across town tonight. What if I drop by and see if I can get a chance to chat?" The hopeful shine in Jake's eyes was contagious, igniting that same flicker of hope within Tom. But the worried father in him surfaced. "What about the charity event? This is important, son. People are counting on us." "I know, but if I can grab this opportunity, I can't just let it pass." "I'll be there," Jake promised, though the certainty in his voice felt shaky. The charity event began, an overwhelming concoction of emotions. People filled the room with laughter, support, and connections, beautiful reminders of what community truly meant. Yet Tom felt Jake's absence heavier with each passing minute. He pushed the worry down, reminding himself of the flicker they had. If he could see potential in his son's ambitions, perhaps he could accept the path Jake was choosing, while still inviting him into the values they built together. As the evening progressed, the auction items began to gain momentum. Tom found himself speaking to attendees, feeling a wave of pride wash over him as stories emerged about the different donations, lives they could positively impact. But then, just as he stood before the crowd, ready to make an emotional appeal, his heart dropped. Jake rushed in, a flurry of energy, cheeks flushed and excitement spilling from his lips. "Dad! You won't believe what just happened." Tom froze momentarily. The words caught in his throat. As Jake's revelation spilled forth, Tom realized the news could change everything. What had his son stumbled upon now? And how would it affect not just his career but their relationship, already so fragile? His heartbeat quickened, a mix of anticipation and dread filling the room. The moment of truth was about to arrive. Jake stood there, breathless and beaming. His excitement radiated through the buzzing crowd, and Tom could feel that energy igniting hope, yet doubt lingered in his thoughts. "What happened, Jake?" he urged, trying to maintain his composure, or at least his promise to focus on the event. "I just spoke to that producer, Dad. He wants to meet with me for real." Jake's eyes sparkled like stars. "He said he liked my work, thought I had potential. If I nail this, it could open doors, big doors." Tom's heart sank a little. His son was standing on the precipice of his dreams, but at what cost? "That's amazing, son, really," Tom replied with a forced smile. "But don't forget why we're here tonight. We're here to make a difference, sure. But this could be the break I need," Jake said, the passion in his voice outweighing Tom's trepidation. "Imagine if I can use this success to help the charity more. I could reach so many more people." "Just don't lose sight of what's important," Tom said, placing a hand on Jake's shoulder, grounding them both in that moment. The warmth of the crowd and the music faded slightly as Tom felt the weight of his son's ambition pull at the seams of their tenuous relationship. Could they truly balance these two worlds? The charity event served as a reminder of their history, of what they both valued. Yet here stood Jake, daring to move forward, dragging Tom into an uncertain future. "Well, the auction's about to begin," Jake pressed, his enthusiasm momentarily dimmed by the seriousness in Tom's voice. "I'll still help. I promise." With that, Jake merged back into the crowd and Tom took a deep breath, watching as he began to engage again, excitement over the producer replaced by fervent energy for the event. As the night wore on, the appeal for donations filled the air. Tom spoke of hope, of the countless lives that could be changed. Each story shared about a donated item echoed like ripples in a pond, tales of families brought together, children helped, futures brighter. It felt good, so much easier than he thought it would be, yet a piece of him remained anxious. Then, just as he wrapped up, a soft murmur spread across the room. There, standing in the doorway, was the music producer. The tall, commanding figure lingered at the entrance like a storm making its way here. Tom's heart raced as he processed the implications. Could Jake's gamble now turn the evening upside down? His thoughts were interrupted when Jake approached, face alight with urgency. "Dad, he's here. Can I go talk to him now?" "I'll be quick, I promise." Tom opened his mouth, about to protest, when he caught sight of the producer. He seemed to survey the room, eyes landing on the auction items, the crowd, and finally Jake, who stood waiting with a nervous excitement. "Go on," Tom said, the words escaping before he could reconsider. "Just come back before the auction closes." Jake barely heard him. The moment he dashed off felt surreal, as if Tom were watching a clip from a movie, his son weaving into the queue of people, chasing his dream. That a feeling washed over Tom. He couldn't shake the mix of pride and worry. He watched Jake shake hands and smile brightly, every motion bursting with potential. But that happiness quickly turned to a flutter of anxiety in his chest as he scanned the room again, the atmosphere charged. But something shifted within him. "Are we ready to lose him again?" A voice behind him whispered. It was Sarah, a fellow volunteer and friend, her concern evident. Tom swallowed hard, glancing at Jake and the producer. I don't know," he replied, unable to hide the tremor in his voice. The night felt poised on the edge of something big. Would this dream bolster their relationship or unravel it further? Then, without warning, one of the auction items, a large painting, slipped from the table, crashing to the ground, drawing every eye as the room fell silent. The moment felt charged, alive, and just like that, the future trembled uncertainly, waiting for the next move. What would the fallout of this night be for both Jake and Tom? And could they still salvage what remained of their bond? The room fell eerily silent as the painting shattered on the wooden floor, the noise sharp and jarring. Tom felt a jolt of panic run through him, caught between the spectacle of falling glass and the electricity of the unknown. He turned instinctively to Jake, who was now fixed in a moment of uncertainty himself. Conversation with the producer halted at the sudden commotion. "Look at the mess," someone exclaimed, breaking the tension. An awkward chuckle rippled through the crowd, but Tom couldn't laugh. Instead, his gaze locked onto Jake, whose face shifted from excitement to worry. The producer watched the scene unfold, brow furrowed as he assessed the room and the young man beside him. Something about the way he looked at Jake held Tom's breath captive. Was this the moment the producer would see the cracks beneath the surface, the fragility of ambition and excitement, masking deeper vulnerabilities? "Keep it together, son," Tom whispered under his breath, anxiety pounding in his chest. Suddenly, Jake was moving again, glancing back at Tom before stepping toward the producer. "I am sorry about that," he stammered, hands awkwardly tucked into his pockets. "That wasn't a part of the plan," the producer, his expression now unreadable, replied in a level tone. "Accidents happen. What's more important is how you handle them." He took a contemplative step back, watching Jake with an intensity that felt like an evaluation of character rather than talent. "Right. I mean, things don't always go as planned," Jake said, gathering his confidence. "I want to show you what I'm capable of. Let me explain my vision. It's important. To me and to those I want to help." Tom's heart swelled with pride, but it was quickly met with the familiar twinge of doubt. Could Jake truly merge his dreams with the charity's mission? Would that balance be sustainable? "Just be careful," he murmured, more to himself than to anyone else. As the two continued to converse, Tom felt the weight of eyes on him. Sarah, standing nearby, leaned close, offering a gentle touch on his arm. "He's doing great, Tom. You need to trust that he knows his path." But the path felt foggy. Suddenly, the auctioneer, sensing a shift in energy, clapped his hands to regain attention. "Gentlemen and ladies, things may be a bit chaotic, but let us ensure we still support the cause tonight. This is what unites us." His voice pulled Tom from his spiral of anxiety. He had a role to play tonight. Alongside Jake, it wasn't just about individual aspirations. But as the auction resumed, Tom's eyes were drawn back to Jake, who was now passionately explaining his ideas to the producer, gestures wide and animated. The way Jake spoke, there was a fire in him that Tom hadn't seen quite like this before. Was this the moment he'd be proud to remember? Or the beginning of something that could break their bond? The stakes seemed higher than ever. Just then, a commotion near the entryway caught his attention. Another figure stepped into the room, a man dressed sharply but with worry etched on his face. Tom recognized him instantly, the charity's founding director, someone who had been like a guiding star in their journey. What could possibly bring him here at this moment? The director scanned the crowd, finally locking eyes with Tom. In that brief exchange, Tom felt a wave of dread wash over him. Whatever news he bore, it could change everything for them tonight. "Tom, we need to talk. It's urgent," he called, striding through the crowd, eyes never leaving Tom's. Tom's pulse quickened. What could be so important? Would this night be remembered for dreams fulfilled, or a larger storm brewing just out of sight? He turned to Jake, who was still caught in his passion. Would Jake's dreams intertwine with a deeper challenge on the horizon? The uncertainty hung in the air like the pause before a long deep breath. Tom barely had time to process the director's urgent call before the man reached him. The noise of the auction clamored around them, but in that moment, the world shrank to just the two of them. Tom could sense the gravity in the director's voice. "What's going on?" Tom asked, unable to mask the concern creeping into his tone. "We might have a situation," the director replied, scanning the room as if searching for something or someone. "I just got off a call with the board. There's been a funding issue with the charity. The donation we were counting on, it's been pulled." Tom's stomach dropped. It felt like a lead weight settling in his gut. "What? Why?" "It's complicated," the director said, lowering his voice. "But we don't have the funds to support the projects we promised. If this goes public before we manage damage control, it could ruin everything we've worked for." Tom's heart raced. Thoughts of Jake and the excitement of the night cloudy by this grim news. They'd all invested so much in this charity, in the people it helped. The conversation with Jake, his dreams, his vision now felt frivolous against the undeniable reality crashing in. He pushed through the anxiety. We can fix this. Can't we reach out to more donors or potential partners? The director shook his head, his brow furrowed. It's not that easy. We're in the middle of an event, and every moment counts. We need to think creatively. Creative how? Tom didn't like where this was heading, but the urgency in the director's eyes left little room for hesitation. Jake, the director said abruptly. He has that pitch lined up, right? If he can manage to secure at least a portion of the funding from one of those wealthy attendees, his passion might resonate considering the stakes. It's a long shot, but it might be our only chance. Tom's breath hitched. The weight of the director's plan settled heavily on his shoulders. Could he push Jake into this at the risk of ruining his moment? Was this the right way to leverage his dreams? Are you sure that's wise? What if it overwhelms him? Tom's voice trembled at the thought of Jake failing, especially now. We don't have time to worry about feelings. We have lives at stake here, Tom. Tom took a step back, wrestling with his emotions as doubt clashed with a wave of desperation. The stakes were high and he had to decide. Okay, I'll talk to him. He turned, searching for Jake in the crowd, who was still animatedly discussing his vision with the producer. His passion palpable, alive in a way that made Tom want to shield him, a protective instinct surging through him. Jake, he called, weaving through the gathering guests, feeling all eyes on him. He needed to get through this, to reach Jake before the event spiraled into chaos. Finally, he reached Jake just as he was gesturing toward a poster displaying his ideas. Jake, we need to talk. Jake turned, all enthusiasm momentarily fading as he sensed the urgency in Tom's tone. What is it? Something's come up. We might need you to adjust your pitch, focus on fundraising if you can. Tom's voice held an edge of urgency that wasn't lost on Jake. Confusion clouded Jake's eyes. What do you mean? I thought we were here to promote awareness? Awareness is great, but we might need actual funding to keep it all going. The charity's in trouble. You need to impress those who can help. Jake blinked hard, emotions flickering across his face: excitement, concern, fear. Now, after everything, this is important. Lives depend on it. Tom felt a rush of anxiety, but he also saw the spark in Jake's determination. The action was swift and hard, but this might be their moment. Jake hesitated, uncertainty clouding his hopeful demeanor. What if I fail? Then we'll figure it out together. But you won't know unless you try. Please just trust me. Tom took a deep breath, searching Jake's eyes. He could see the walls he had built start to crack. Would it be enough? Jake nodded slowly, but a shadow flickered across his expression. The unspoken fear lingered. What if this night turned from opportunity to catastrophe? As they stood there, the auction continued around them, excitement building once more. But within Tom a cold sweat formed. This could very well be the night that changed everything, or the moment everything fell apart. Let us do this, Jake said, steeling himself. But as they stepped forward together, uncertainty loomed larger than before. Could they really handle what lay ahead? Just as they were about to engage the crowd again, Tom spotted the producer sharing a glance with the director, a knowing look that sent chills down his spine. What other surprises lingered just outside their grasp? Tom swallowed hard, the weight of what lay ahead pressing down on him. He and Jake stepped into the thrumming heart of the auction, the vibrant colors and laughter of the crowd swirling around them, but an ominous cloud still hovered above. Okay, we need to keep your pitch authentic, Tom said, his voice low and steady, trying to calm the storm in his own mind. You have something special to share. Just let them see that. Jake nodded, but his eyes flickered with doubt. What if they're not interested? What if they don't care? Then we make them care. Tom's conviction surprised even him. You have the passion, Jake. That's what we're drawing from. Remember why you started this. Jake opened his mouth to respond, but the sudden sound of a gavel slamming echoed through the hall, drawing their attention. The auctioneer raised his hand, signaling the start of the next item up for bid. Tom could feel the pulse of energy shift, the crowd moving as one, eager and hungry. Look, Jake said, nudging Tom and pointing discreetly. There's Mr. Carson. Tom turned. Mr. Carson, a famous philanthropist with deep pockets and an even deeper love for charitable causes, was making his way to the front, surrounded by a group of admirers. That's our shot, Tom urged softly. If you can nail your pitch, he could get us closer to what we need. Jake's breaths quickened as he scanned the crowd, anxiety battling against hope. What do I even say? Be honest. Show him the heart of what we're doing. He needs to feel that urgency. Tom felt his heart racing alongside Jake's. Everything they worked for depended on this moment. Just then, a woman bumped into them, her laughter ringing out as she hurried past. Excuse me, she called, her voice sweetening the chaos around them. Tom watched as Jake flinched with the sudden distraction. Focus, Jake, Tom said firmly, bringing his friend's attention back to the task at hand. Remember what your vision is. How can it change lives? Jake took a deep breath, absorbing Tom's words. He glanced towards Mr. Carson again, who seemed to be caught up in conversation with another attendee. What if he doesn't think it's enough? Jake's voice trembled slightly, vulnerability slipping through. Then we make him believe it is. You can do this. You need to do this. Tom's heart raced as he sensed the critical moment nearing. As they moved closer to Mr. Carson, Tom noticed other eyes on them. The director stood a few paces away, watching with an intensity that felt like a weight on Tom's shoulders. Suddenly, Tom felt a flash of doubt. Maybe they weren't ready for this. Maybe they were simply setting themselves up for disappointment. Jake, look at me. Tom's hand gripped Jake's shoulder, grounding him. Whatever happens, we're in this together. You have a chance to create change. Don't lose it. Jake swallowed hard, nodding. The fire in his eyes flickered back to life. Okay, I'll do it. Tom released a breath he didn't know he was holding, pride swelling within him. Together they moved toward Mr. Carson, the sea of faces around them blurring into insignificance as they approached. A familiar voice echoed through the hall. Ladies and gentlemen, the next item. A once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to support a worthy cause. The auctioneer's voice rang out, capturing everyone's attention. We have an incredible pitch from a bright young mind who needs your support. There's no going back now, Tom muttered under his breath. Excitement and dread tangled together in his gut. They reached Mr. Carson, whose attention was suddenly drawn to them. Tom felt his heart pound, the stakes soaring high. This could change everything for them, but there was that lingering edge of uncertainty. Did they have what it took? Mr. Carson, Jake began, his voice unsteady at first but gaining strength. I'm here to share my vision with you, but just as he opened up, a loud crash erupted from across the room, drawing the crowd's gasps. Tom's heart sank. What had just happened? Would this derail their moment? As chaos broke loose and whispers of confusion spread, Tom turned to Jake, fears sprinting through his mind. What kind of impact would this new development have on their hopes? The crowd's reaction was immediate. Gasps turned into murmurs, and worried faces darted toward the source of the sound. Tom felt the air change, a thick tension settling over them like a heavy blanket. He glanced at Jake, whose face had gone pale, and the spark of determination seemed to flicker in his eyes. Stay focused, Tom urged, but he couldn't ignore the anxiety tightening in his chest. The commotion drew away attention, and with every second that passed, the opportunity felt more fragile. Suddenly, a figure rushed past them, an event staff member, his face flushed with panic. Everyone, please. Remain calm, he shouted, trying to hush the crowd. Tom instinctively adjusted their stance, angling Jake to keep him in Mr. Carson's line of sight. This was no time to let fear win. Let us just keep it together, Tom offered, sounding as confident as he could. He leaned in closer, whispering, you have an important message to share. Don't let a moment of chaos steal that. Jake nodded slowly, his brow furrowing in concentration. Right, the message. He took a deep breath, finding some composure amid the chaos. As the crowd began to settle, Tom could see some people looking their way, curiosity creeping back in. Ladies and gentlemen. The auctioneer's voice rang out once more, cutting through the lingering anxiety. We will resume shortly. But now I would like to present a young gentleman, ready to share a transformative opportunity. Please welcome Jake to the stage. This was their moment. Tom's heart raced with hope. He could see the glint of determination return to Jake's eyes, igniting that flicker into a flame. With one last look of encouragement, he gave Jake a gentle push forward, urging him to step into the spotlight. The room quieted as Jake moved to the front of the stage. All eyes were on him now, waiting, expectant. An undercurrent of uncertainty washed over him again, but there was no turning back. "Thank you," Jake began, his voice wavering at first but gaining strength. "I know things seem hectic right now, but that kind of chaos, it mirrors the challenges I want to address. We all have stories. We all have struggles. I've experienced it myself." Tom listened intently as Jake shared not just his vision but his heart. He spoke of the people who would benefit from their initiative, from the families who desperately needed support to those who had lost hope. Together, Jake continued, his voice rising with passion, "We can ignite change. We can create opportunities and bring light to those in darkness." The crowd was captivated, the collective weight of the room shifting as they hung on his every word. Tom could see subtle gestures of encouragement, nods of agreement radiating from several attendees. Jake was connecting. He was building bridges in their minds. Then, without warning, a cell phone rang, piercing through the moment. Laughter erupted from the back of the room. Jake faltered, his gaze breaking away from the crowd, doubt creeping back in. Tom watched in agony as he momentarily lost the connection he'd just built. "Jake, keep going," Tom called out, desperation tinged with hope lacing his voice. "You're almost there." Jake glanced back at him, eyes wide with uncertainty, then turned to face the audience again. He inhaled deeply, centering himself. "This is about more than just me," he said, his voice steadier now. "This is about us. Together we can make a difference, and I know that you have the ability to help." The energy in the room shifted again, a surge of solidarity coursing through the crowd. They were leaning in, listening more intently than before. Tom's heart raced as he saw Mr. Carson lean forward, intrigue washing over his features. "Will you stand with me?" Jake asked, directing his words to Mr. Carson, but it resonated across the room. "Will you help turn this vision into reality?" What would Mr. Carson say? Would their dreams hang in the balance, shifting along with that single breath? Tom felt the pulse of anticipation throbbing in the air, an electric tension wound tight. The moment hung heavy. All eyes awaited the answer. Would this be the lifeline they so desperately sought, or just another chance lost to time? Silence enveloped the room, thick and suffocating. Every person held their breath, waiting for Mr. Carson's response. Tom's hands were clammy, his heart hammering in his chest. Would the moment slip away? Finally, Mr. Carson lifted his chin, the corners of his mouth curling into a contemplative smile. "Jake," he said, his voice rich with warmth and authority, "you have a vision that resonates deeply. I've seen many pitches, but yours." He paused, scanning the crowd, making sure everyone felt included in Jake's journey. "Yours is different. It comes from a place of passion, from lived experience." A wave of relief washed over Tom, but he could feel Jake's tension still lingering. Mr. Carson continued, "How can I help?" In that instant, Jake's demeanor shifted. Hope surged back into his veins like a rush of adrenaline. "We need funding to launch this initiative, Mr. Carson," he said, confidence re-emerging in his voice. "With your support, we can start programs that reach those in need: educational workshops, mental health resources, community outreach. We can show people that they are not alone in their struggles." Tom watched as Jake gained momentum, the audience slowly leaning in with a mix of anticipation and longing. There was something magical about this moment, as hope and light began to break through the shadows of despair that had clouded them for so long. Mr. Carson nodded thoughtfully, his brow furrowed in serious reflection. The buzz in the room shifted from simple interest to a genuine sense of community, the kind of energy that thrived on possibility and partnerships. "I can help connect you with the right people. It's a hefty investment, but something tells me this could truly make a difference." Tom's heart soared. They were inches away from what could be a turning point, the lifeline they needed to pull their dreams from the depths of uncertainty. Suddenly, the auctioneer stepped forward, eager to redirect the crowd's enthusiasm. "Let us take a moment to discuss Jake's proposal more in depth after the event. But remember, our mission here is to raise funds. Let's keep the spirit alive." With that, the focus shifted and the energy dissipated just a little. Tom felt a pang of frustration. Their window was narrowing, but at least the conversation had sparked hope within the crowd. A collective resolve began to rise, and even amid the chaos, Jake's call to action had ignited an ember of potential. Tom turned to Jake, a mix of pride and worry flickering in his eyes. This isn't done. You can't stop here, he urged. We need to rally this crowd, use this momentum. They need to see the personal impact up close. Jake nodded, determination brimming again. You're right, he replied, his voice steady and filled with purpose. Let us get out there. We'll share stories, connect with people. It's more than just numbers, they need to feel why we're doing this. As they prepared to step back into the crowd, Tom could feel the urgency building within him. They had a message that needed to travel further, deeper into hearts and homes. But just as they were about to join the throng of people again, Tom's phone buzzed in his pocket. He pulled it out, his expression shifting as he read the screen. It was a message that shifted his world anew. There's been a development, Tom muttered, eyes wide with the crowd buzzing around them. A growing anticipation loomed larger. What could this news mean for their initiative and for Jake's dream? Would it bring a new chance or threaten to tear down what they had just built? Tom stared at the message in disbelief, feeling the weight of uncertainty pressing down on him like an anchor. What is happening? Jake asked, his brow furrowing. Tom quickly gestured for his son to hold on as he read through the message. There's been a funding issue with the charity, but it seems like someone has stepped up to save us. A larger donor wants to meet tonight. They're prepared to discuss a significant contribution, but we need to impress them. Tom felt a mix of emotions surge through him, relief, but also fear and desperation. Do they really want to help us? Jake caught the hint of worry in his dad's eyes and felt the tremor of uncertainty in his own heart. Yes, son, but we need to stay focused. This is the opportunity we've been waiting for. The energy in the room began to swirl with an electrifying intensity. Tom faced Jake, a deep sense of urgency coursing through him. We've got to harness this moment. You need to be ready to present what we've built. This isn't just about music. It's about lives. Jake nodded, determination washing over his features as the doubts began to fade. The auction continued around them, but they both knew that the attention of the crowd was shifting back to their cause, back to their dreams. As excitement brewed in the air, Tom grasped the moment tightly. They organized themselves to reach out to different attendees and share their story. They spoke about families in need, community struggles, and the vision they had for support and empowerment. The conversations grew, pouring like a fresh stream of water into parched ground. With each story shared, Tom's heart felt lighter. The warmth of the connections they made filled him with hope. Was this the rekindling of something beautiful between him and Jake? Then, something unexpected happened. Mr. Carson approached them, enshrouded in the anticipation of a crowd that seemed to hang on to every whisper. You're utilizing your vision undeniably, he said, his tone brimming with admiration. I can connect you with influential donors who care about making real change. Jake's eyes sparkled and he took a deep breath. This was his moment. Without wasting a second, he stepped forward. Thank you, Mr. Carson. We want to create programs that will truly make an impact, to show our community that they are not alone. With that declaration, Tom felt the bond between father and son rebuild in real time, a testament to hope and resilience. People leaned closer, listening to Jake's every word, the atmosphere sizzling with potential. The energy shifted again as the night wore on, with people beginning to pledge their support. Phone calls were made, donations rolled in. Tom's heart raced as more and more commitments came together. They were nearing something extraordinary. Then a soft murmur echoed through the crowd. A connection was forged between Jake and a young single mother who had been struggling to find employment after losing her husband. I thought I was alone, she said, voice trembling. But you showed me there is hope. I'd love to help in any way. Jake's heart swelled. You're not alone. Together we can change this narrative. The sincerity in his voice radiated like warmth, the kind that pulls people in, stitches together community fabric, and repairs the cracks over time. Tom watched. Tears stung his eyes. You're incredible, son, he whispered, fight and pride roaring in his chest. For the first time in what felt like ages, things seemed to align. This wasn't just about a pitch or a fundraiser, it was about connection, strength, and family. As voices of encouragement swirled around, Tom realized their journey had transformed. They weren't just chasing dreams anymore. They were living them. The line between ambition and sacrifice blurred beautifully, creating a new meaning underneath the weight of hope. As Jake and Tom worked together, they dove deeper into conversations about the future, what it meant to truly embody change, to be beacons of light for those in need. It wasn't just about the glamorous allure of fame anymore. It was about the raw authenticity of humanity and what they could create together. The event closed with overwhelming support and gratitude. As they stood among the heartwarming atmosphere, a new kind of love blossomed between them. This wasn't just a victory for the charity. It was a reclamation of the father-son bond that had nearly shattered. Tom turned to Jake, wrapping him in a tight embrace. "I'm so proud of you. You found your way back to us." An overwhelming sense of joy coiled in his chest. In that moment, all felt right in the world. Jake squeezed his father tightly, tears of joy spilling down their cheeks. "We did this together, Dad. I was lost for a while, but you never stopped believing." As the lights dimmed and the last guests trickled out, Tom knew that their journey wasn't over. Together they would forge the path ahead, hand in hand. "Let us keep building this community," Tom suggested, his voice full of determination. Jake nodded, thoughts already racing about the new projects they could embark on. It was, they both realized, the start of something beautiful, an opportunity to impact lives, to inspire transformation, and to bring light into the darkest corners of their community. This moment etched into their hearts the lottery ticket that could have torn them apart led them back together, stronger than ever. Now more than ever, Tom felt excitement for what lay ahead. And you should feel the excitement too. If you enjoyed this journey, you need to subscribe now. Don't let this moment slip away. Hit that button and be part of our growing community. Leave a like right now to feed the algorithm and show your support for the stories that inspire us to be better. Share this incredible transformation with at least 5 friends who need to see it. Don't wait not even one more second. Your engagement matters, and together we can continue to make a difference.